You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 188. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about the 5 pillars of true wealth. This is a framework that was developed by my guest, Emma Lagerlow, who is going to talk with you about what it really takes to create sustainable success as a practice owner, as a human being. And she's got some really juicy guidance for us today that I think is practical, actionable, and useful. You're going to love this. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host. And as always, I'm super excited to be hanging out with you today. I don't know if you realize this or not, if you guys are noticing this pattern, but in these interviews, I like to go deep with people. Could have something to do with what I do for a living, but I really love to explore a little bit of their history, about how they got into the work that they do, how they figured out what they have figured out, and to really understand the wisdom of what they are bringing to us. And today is no exception. It's not at all unusual that my guest will have kind of an aha in the middle of our conversation when I reflect back to them what I see them doing. And that happened today as well. You're going to hear about something today called the 15-minute fix. Emma didn't call it that. I called it that. But indeed, she does have that, as well as a whole bunch of other things that I really, really think is important and valuable, and I hope that you enjoy. So let me tell you about Emma. Emma Lagerlow, she's in Sydney, Australia. She is a wealth and mindset coach. She's an author. She's host of her own podcast, which is called It's a Mindset. And she is dedicated to helping women bridge the gap between their inner worth and their outward success. Through her work, including a book that she's written called Worthy and Wealthy, Emma guides individuals to deepen their self-knowledge, strengthen their self-trust, and build lives that feel purposeful and abundant and aligned with their own internal values. She draws on her own journey of reinvention, which you're going to hear about today, her experience as a mom, her own entrepreneurial growth, and through all of her life experience, she brings warmth, clarity, and really practical insight to conversations about our identity, who we are, how we show up in the world, resilience, and what I particularly love today, the idea of living more intentionally. I really, really love that. As I mentioned, Emma lives in Sydney, Australia with her family, which is a pretty good-sized family, but she speaks globally about mindset and well-being and meaningful success. And as you'll hear, I'm actually going to be on her podcast in a few weeks too, where we're going to have a completely different conversation about the role of courage and how to activate that in various ways. That's what our conversation is going to be about. So this was a good one, and I hope you appreciate the fact that I like to go deep on these conversations, because to me, that's what makes them more valuable. Even if it takes me a little while to get through them sometime. And so, without further ado, let's get into the interview. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Ideal Practice Podcast. You have already heard a little bit about today's guest, and I am really, really excited about having her on board. I have to tell you, I had a little bit of a guilt trip before we got started because I thought we were talking at 5 o'clock in the morning her time. I was really happy to find out that was not the case. So, Emma, come on board and say hi and introduce yourself.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, it's a much more pleasant 9:15 a.m. So it's a wonderful. I can feel like I'll be able to speak a lot more clearly than at 5 a.m.
For real. Yeah. So tell everybody, they can already hear that you are, as we say around here, you're not from around here. I love to start with this question, which is, where are you in the world? And because that's just one of my favorite things. And then who do you serve and how do you serve them?
Yes, well, I am in Sydney in Australia. Maybe I should have said g'day, mate.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
But we don't say that often these days, actually. But yeah, I've been born and bred in Sydney, Australia. So spent most of my life here. I did a little bit of traveling in my 20s. I spent about 2 years globetrotting. When
Cool.
we leave Australia, we often go for quite some time because it's very far away from everywhere else.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was a fabulous experience. Yeah,
Huh.
doing that, and I learned a lot, I guess, about the world and yeah, my place in it. I
Huh.
worked in corporate for about 25 years in banking and finance, but I always had this hankering that I really wanted to write a book. And when the pandemic happened, that was an opportunity for me to really take that moment to pause, and it was now or never. I'm also mother of four children. They were all sort of entering their
Four.
teenage years.
Four.
Yeah.
Goodness. Okay.
Yeah, for four kids, and so life was super busy, and I felt like I was really just living on autopilot. And
Mm.
when the pandemic came along, it felt like it was a scary time, and I was worried for everyone and their jobs and things like that. But for me, it felt like an opportunity to just to take a step back and reflect on my life and think about writing that book. And but I realized I couldn't go just from being a marketing manager and to writing a book. I needed to build a bit of a runway, and so I started exploring that, and I worked with some coaches, and that's when I discovered coaching. And I just had this light bulb moment that this could actually be a real transition for my life and something that I could actually do, and bringing the wisdom. I was around 45 at that time, and so the wisdom of my life. And initially, it was about helping mums who are raising tweens and teens, because I don't know
Mm.
if anyone's listening, but it can be a little bit of a challenging time. And then it's
That's an understatement, that's an
yeah,
understatement, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
were you working full time in the corporate world when the pandemic hit and then still working while managing four kids at home? Is that what was happening?
Yeah, so I was doing a 30-hour week, so
Okay.
virtually full time. It was in school hours, so I was still able to manage, all the kids and what they were all up to. But yeah, I was working, and my husband's a stockbroker, so he was also not really around at all. So yeah, that
And
was
how old were your kids then? How old were they?
so then they were so maybe
Roughly.
five
Yeah.
years ago. So we were like 17, 15, 13, and 11.
Wow.
Mm,
Okay. Okay.
mm.
That's a lot. Okay. So it's a lot. So you were in the middle of this kind of crazy time managing the
Mm,
job, managing home, four kids at home, right? I
yeah,
assume, right?
yeah, yeah,
And decided, I think I'll write a book now
yeah,
and reflect on my life.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Well, I
That's
did have more
interesting.
time. I really did. I mean,
Mm,
didn't have to travel to work, and the kids, I didn't have to take them to school, and there was no activities, and
mm.
I have quite a busy social life as well, and that ground to a halt. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really had a lot of time. I remember just sitting outside. I was lucky that I live, in Australia where we have, big properties, and so I didn't feel, boxed in like I know some people in the world did. And sorry that, it would have been really hard for that. But I had a beautiful backyard and looking over a pool, and just
Yeah.
yeah, I think really it did give me that time, because I would often sit in my kitchen and like I want to write that book, but just never
Huh.
thought that I would have the time. And so it felt like it was this gift of time for me to be able to do that. But it did take me 5 years after that pandemic for me to
Yeah.
actually write the book, because I discovered coaching and then started to explore that. And it was a side hustle for a little while. And I was just listening to your podcast, and I know that you also were running your ideal practice as a side hustle initially. And so the runway, I guess, is longer when that is happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really had to find my feet. I also started a podcast before I even wrote a book, and I did all these things. It was sort of like then a little bit of procrastination, I think, to get to that ultimate goal.
What I'm hearing in that is that the world suddenly kind of came to a halt
Mm,
and rather than look at that from a place of overwhelm. You were like, I have time to breathe for the first time probably in a long time, which, yeah. And I can see that because your kids were older. So it wasn't like they would, if they had been younger, it would have been different. But I could see that. And that you chose to use that time to reflect and go inward, which is wonderful. And it sounds like really it sort of started you on a completely different path in terms of thinking about what your life had meant and what was important to you and what you wanted to do with it. So this was a big pivot, right?
Yeah, it really was.
Okay, so when I asked who do you serve and how do you serve them, were you coaching people around finance? What were you coaching, or what were you doing? What came out of
Yeah,
that?
so I studied life coaching, and again, I was listening to you, and you said you would coach, or serve anyone that would knock on your door, and I was a bit the same. My first client was, I think, a 16-year-old, and so it really, I mean, I guess life coaching, you can sort of coach anyone. And so initially I was just opening my doors to whoever would like to come along. But then I started to really hone in on who I wanted to serve and going through midlife. And I feel like there's a lot of transitions, especially for women. We're going through perimenopause and we're contemplating our children growing up and not having to be as present for them. And so I really now love serving midlife women.
Yeah, okay. Around any particular issue or around like what? What is it that you help women do?
Well, they often come to me, I feel, when they're at a low ebb, where they are navigating, some sort of transition in their own lives, whether that's a marriage breakdown or, they're struggling, with perimenopause or with a career or, I feel like it's a really an opportunity when you can really start to look at the next chapter of your life. You've been in this period of growing your financial wealth and raising your children, or just laying down foundations, and all of a sudden it's changing.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like it's a great opportunity for us to reflect, like as I did at that juncture for myself, and how it's about choosing yourself again. And that's really what I would love to help women with. And finances definitely play a part of that. And I'm grateful for my career in banking and finance. And even as I was growing up, my mother was the budgeter in our family household. And so that naturally then fell to me. And I now, having coached so many women, I can see how that's not always the case, and how women often have no idea about the finances, and how that is really crucial as well. And so I really try to bring a holistic approach to my coaching. And so we always start by looking at the wheel of life. And I don't know if you've heard of that, where it's like a bird's eye view of different areas such as your emotions, your health, your finances, your career, spirituality, and we can really start to get a picture of where you might be out of alignment, and then we can hone in and focus on that.
Got it. Okay, so that's a good segue. I wrote down choosing self again. You just said that a minute ago, which I thought that's a really important thing here. So you sort of help people look at the big picture of their during major life transitions, and when something is out of whack and not good, it's like something's just doesn't fit anymore, or they're going through a big change. That's a really important time to reflect, just like you did. I get that. And as I understand it, you have come up with your own framework for how to approach this period of time. Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Tell us about, I want to say it's the 5 pillars of true wealth. Is that right?
Yes, that is,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
right. And so that's, when I eventually got to, learning everything, and that, all this wisdom that I was garnering from coaching and everything. And I came up with an idea for my book at long last, and I called it Worthy and Wealthy, and it's discovering abundance and fulfillment beyond money. So I really feel like there is such a emphasis on this financial gain. And even for myself, before the pandemic, I was always, by the time, I'll be happy when I retire. I'll be happy when the kids have grown. I'll be happy when.
Yes.
And I've really learned that we're not even guaranteed when. So we really need to reflect on right now. And so I developed these 5 pillars that I really feel contributes to a truly wealthy life. So one that is beyond money. And so the first pillar is around self-worth. And that's really knowing who you are and it explores, limiting beliefs and the things that I just have learnt about ourselves through osmosis, through, the way we were parented and the way we are in the world. And we don't even question these things about ourselves. And they can be positive as well as negative, but we often are focusing in on those limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, or, there's often that's the ultimate where it really comes down to that we just feel like we aren't good enough. And so it's really trying to unpack them and shine a light on them with even our mature lens, and realizing that isn't true. Why are we not good enough? Why are we holding ourselves back from doing the things that we want? Why do we think we're not a great at even our practice, and that imposter syndrome and all of those things. And so that's really pillar one, is trying to really get to the crux of why you are holding yourself back from honoring yourself even.
Right. And I'm hearing and clear up some distortions in there
when
it comes to yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you're right.
definitely.
There's nothing like running a business to or starting a private practice to show you what your stuff is.
Yes.
And even in my experience, a lot of the folks in my world who are very good at what they do, they're great psychotherapists or massage therapists or Reiki practitioners, but they have lots and lots and lots of doubt about themselves when it comes to the business side of their work. So that totally, and when they're struggling over payment, or they're struggling over getting their finances straight, or struggling to set boundaries, or struggling to figure out the daggum systems, whatever, all of it, that often triggers self-doubt and worries in terms of self-worth. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Okay. So that's pillar number one. Good.
Pillar number one. So pillar number two is purpose. And I think that there's so many people that have not even ever considered what their purpose is. And it really starts with understanding what your values are. And again, I'm so surprised. I mean, I shouldn't be, because I had no idea about really values until I started on this little journey for myself. I mean, we hear about, live up to your values and those type of things, but then do we even know what our values are? So I think that is so important, to really understand the things that are important to you. They're sort of like the guideposts in your life, and you can use them to help you make decisions. And then it can form the basis of, your purpose. And often people think your purpose is your career or your business, which it can be. And look, if you can weave it in, I mean, I talk about Ikigai in my book, and I think that is so important. It's like what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what gets you up in the morning. So if you can do all of those things in one, that's incredible, but not for everyone. Some people are off working and unfulfilled. Hopefully everyone we're talking to here in private practice is doing something that they deeply love and feel truly passionate about. But I also think
I would say a lot of people are unfulfilled, actually. I think you're rare if you're not. Okay, that's great. Okay.
So that's your purpose. And I think it can be an overarching theme for your life, how you want to look back on and be super proud of the relationships you've cultivated and the impact you've had and who you've served and all of that type of thing. So so that's pillar two.
Okay. And knowing that helps you make decisions and move with more clarity through in your life, right? Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And it can shift and change. And I don't think we have to say, wow, I know my purpose and that's it forever. Because as I said before, like our life circumstances change. And so that might shift our purpose. But if it's an underlying theme that runs through your life and you're always tapping into that and honoring it, it
becomes a North Star. It becomes a guiding principle, right? Okay, good. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So pillar number 3 is well-being.
Okay.
And I really enjoy talking about well-being because I think it's particularly as business owners and in private practice, we are so serving others that we forget to serve ourselves and receive ourselves. And it's a huge energy exchange when you are working in private practice. I mean, we're giving so much from, the business perspective, and then the worry and the finances, and then the serving of our clients. And so I think it's so important to honor our well-being as much as we possibly can. And I have different practices that I've cultivated since my life shift around having a morning routine and things like that that have really supported me. Then, of course, there's the foundational things such as your nutrition and getting enough sleep. And sleep in particular, I think, is so important and something that is very underrated in life, but in private practice as well. So I think that's super important. And I like to think about, thinking what time you need to wake up in the morning and then back pace it to what time you actually need to be asleep, and asleep, not just in bed, scrolling your phone or doing those things. And then the relationships in your life as well. I think that they really contribute so much to your well-being, and they say you're the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So making sure that the people around you are nourishing for your soul and feel the connection, I think is truly important from a well-being perspective.
So you're talking about all different aspects of health in that case, like your physical health, your emotional health, mental health, relationship health, all of it, like making sure that you are doing the things you need to do to take good care of yourself.
Yes.
In all the ways. Okay. Awesome. And you're right. For healers, that can be a little tricky sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And the boundaries, I come into this a lot as well, of having strong boundaries around your well-being, around, your client work and your private life and all of that, I think is really important to be super clear.
Yeah, I agree. And it's very, very, very easy to let that slip. We're going to come back to that, I think, in just a minute. I might want to dig into that a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, tell me about pillar number 4.
So pillar number 4, now this is where it really does lean into my banking and finance experience. Okay. But I think having a strong financial foundation is really key. And I like to even think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where safety and security is right at the bottom. And if we don't feel financially secure, then we're worried about paying our bills. We're worried about buying our groceries. We're worried about, the roof over our head and paying for our rent and all of that. And so we can't then climb up the pyramid if we don't have financial security. So it is foundational that we feel secure. And so then that sort of leans into the budgeting and the business planning and making sure, we pay our taxes and we have money set aside for our taxes and all of those things so that we can feel secure. But it's also about that isn't the North Star, and I think that that's so important for us to acknowledge that this is important for our life, but it's about how much is enough. And I think it is about enough, and rather than just to keep on striving to the detriment of our well-being or our self-worth or our purpose or whatever it might be. So
when you're talking to people about what they need to do to have in place to have true wealth, all of these are part of that. And I know we haven't gotten number 5 yet, but in this piece, I'm thinking of this as financial well-being, like to make sure that you are paying attention to this side of your life, because this will also impact all the rest of it if you're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
good.
Yeah. Like financial self-care even, and just doing the things. And I think, I've done a lot of work into money mindset, and in business in particular, if you are so spiritual and a true healer, then it might not resonate with you and you can bury your head in the sand. But it's really important to pay some attention.
Yep. I'm going to resist the temptation to go after that. Yes. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. You have your amazing Mind Over Money program, which I know I was just listening to that. So that's definitely something that I think everyone needs to download. And
thank you for that little plug. I appreciate that. The check is in the mail. That's really good. But I just think like this is part of a balanced life. All of this is part of a balanced life. Okay, good. All right. And I know that any one of these we can go into in terms of what that looks like, and you have guidance for people about that. But what's number 5? Let's do that one.
Number 5 is time, and it's all freedom and time. And I feel that this is almost the most overlooked resource that we have, and the one that once we spend it, we can't get it back. And we really need to honor our time. I talk in my book a lot about Covey's time management matrix, and where, there's the different areas where we're spending our time, and there's the urgent and important where there's a deadline and we've just got to do it. And then there's the urgent but not important, which is the emails and the phone calls, which we can often be, in a conversation with our partner or our children or someone, and I've just got to answer this, and then we're neglecting those relationships that we have, or, the mindless scrolling on social media or watching Netflix. And we really want to be spending most of our time in that not urgent but important area where we
Quadrant
are.
two, what they call quadrant two activities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Quadrant number two, where we're, looking after our well-being, and we're doing preventative healthcare, and we're working inside, on our business rather than, in our business, and planning recreation as well, like holidays and things like that, that is so important. And I think sometimes when we have our own business, people haven't had a holiday for years, and it doesn't give us the spaciousness then to be able to look out and zoom out from our business. So I talk a lot about, the time in that, and how we want to spend our time as well when we're really thinking about it. And it goes into a little bit into manifesting and that type of thing. But I really feel like time is something that we really need to honor as much as we possibly can in our lives, because it will run out one of these days.
So what I hear you talking, and y'all, just because she said this quickly, I want to make sure you all heard this when she was talking about the Covey quadrant. So Stephen Covey, right? That's what you were talking about.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So Stephen Covey is the guy way back, who wrote 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. It was a classic back in the, I don't even remember, 80s or 90s at this point. Yeah. But he did come up with this 4-quadrant system. He had a lot of good things in that book. But what you're talking about here about that is important but not urgent. So it is the stuff that we don't get to because it's harder, right? It requires more thought and more intentionality. It's the stuff you keep putting off because it takes, like in the business side, it's like, rewriting your web copy. In a personal life, it might be taking time for a vacation, even though you feel like you don't have time for a vacation. But it's stuff that is important to do that does not feel like it's critical, but it is, right? So, I just wanted to highlight that because it's an important concept, and you will hear people talk about quadrant 2 activities. When he drew his little grid, this was the second quadrant, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, and you're right, and that is a really important thing that tends to go by the wayside for practice owners. So, all right. So what I'm pulling out of all of this in general, overall, is that you're talking about how to live more intentionally in all aspects of your life, being more on purpose about more, not just in purpose, but on purpose about how you do things, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So don't just let life drift. Yeah.
Yeah, to have, a really full life. I don't want people to be on their deathbed and be regretting, the things that they haven't done or said or been, and because they've been so busy focused on growing their wealth, their financial wealth. And you're not going to remember those things as much as you're going to remember who you spent your time with and how you impacted on them. And I know as practice owners that is what we are trying to do, but we just don't want to miss out on all the goodness and the richness that we can have in our lives.
Yeah. Okay. So have you worked with many business owners in your, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are some of the things that you have seen as a coach and as, I really love the idea of watch the whole thing. It all matters, right? And it's very, very easy to get out of balance, right? It's very easy to be zooming in on one thing or one problem or one area of focus, whatever. But what you are laying out here, the true wealth, 5 pillars of the true wealth, is that you really kind of need all of this. All of this is important. So I'd be curious, for a private practice owner, let's say, who is either they're a solo provider, they've got their own little office, they see their own clients, or maybe they've got 2 or 3 staff, whatever. They've been in business for a few years. Things are kind of hopping. They're busy. They're figuring stuff out. They're making a little money. They've got some traction. Things are working. It's exciting. It's growing. All the stuff that in the beginning was I had no idea what I'm doing. They're kind of beginning okay, I've got that part. Now this. I've got that part. Now this. Where do you see people going wrong? Where do you see people losing the thread? Where do you see people getting into trouble when they are really running the whole thing? They're the CEO of their own show. Where do you see people slipping?
I feel like it's in the well-being area. more than anything. And I feel that once that starts to slide, then it really can impact on your sense of self-worth as well. And often they're working well over 40-hour weeks, maybe 80 or 100-hour weeks on their business, and they may be sitting for long periods of time and not doing any exercise. Just almost on the brink of burnout sometimes, where they're so deeply passionate and driven for their business, but then they're neglecting even their relationships, that they don't have time to even catch up with friends and family and things like that. And so it starts to, I think, really, it starts to impact on their well-being. And then you start to see health problems starting to come in. I had a client who ended up with shingles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think just hadn't listened to their body, and there was probably other signs that were going on, that you need to get more rest and you need to do a little bit more exercise and maybe get out into nature, and until they had shingles, and then they really had to sit up and listen because their health was in jeopardy. So I really feel that is an area that can be neglected when you are in just this successful drive of your business, and it's wonderful, and that's filling you up, and it's giving you all the dopamine and endorphins and everything. But if you don't look after your health and even eating the right food, you might be grabbing food on the run because you're so busy and you don't have time to cook dinner and all of those things, and it takes a toll.
Yeah. And then there's a cascade effect, right? One thing leads to another, leads to another. So one of the places that you see people get into trouble the most is that they're just flat working too much, too many hours.
Yeah.
Okay. And not taking care of their body along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. And their emotional health as well. Where they have just got all the tabs open and they're not doing things that are just giving themselves that little bit of space to be.
Can you tell me some stories about people that you've seen this happen to and what it looks like? Because it's occurring to me that I don't know that folks will even recognize it necessarily. Like in the mental health world, we are trained consciously and actively to pay attention to our emotional state when we are with clients. Depending upon the kind of work you do, it can be very, very, very intense. And learning how to manage the emotion of the work is how you survive in the work right over time. But it occurs to me, and I don't know if this is true or not. So guys, those of you who are listening, please tell me if you think I'm wrong about this. But one of the things that I found in the beginning when I started my practice was it was so exciting. It was fun. I loved seeing people and I loved answering all the calls and I loved all the excitement of bringing in new people into my practice. And it was just like, it's sort of, what's the word? Seductive. It can be seductive, right? And I have in my group practice, I had therapists who would see people ridiculous hours, like just ridiculous hours. And either we're doing it out of guilt because they couldn't say no, or because they're just having so much fun, right? What's wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to hear like what you have seen where people just don't even realize it's kind of sneaking up on them.
Yeah, I think it's the different ailments as well. I mean, even for myself, I know it's lower back pain that creeps in for me. And so it's sort of it shows itself in different ways. And I was sitting for long periods and now I have a stand-up desk. So I've tried to change that around. But I feel like it's a stress response as well. And so I think it's starting to see what physical symptoms you might be experiencing that relate to potentially working too much. So is there something that is niggling away at you that is a bit of a sign? Then, even physical sickness where people are constantly getting colds or the flu or whatever it might be. I think that these are the type of things. And then, at the worst end of the scale is where people burn out. And I've had a number of people on my podcast that have hit burnout where then they just can't do anything at all. They can't even get out of bed.
Yes.
And
crash and burn.
Yeah, they really crash. Their nervous system, I think, is completely just wired. And so I think it's probably more important than anything is just to nourish and honor your nervous system, because it's so exciting, and especially if you're getting clients and you're making money, and I can just do more and more and more and more. But if your nervous system doesn't have come back to baseline every now and again, which I would think daily at least is ideal, or at least having some intention of bringing it to baseline, then I think then we're not operating in homeostasis.
Yeah.
And that's where things can creep in, symptoms can creep in, because our body isn't operating in harmony. And so then you can get that sore back, or because you haven't been stretching or walking or doing the things, or you've been sitting for so long that it's just compressing.
I really think this is important because I don't think you can serve your clients if you're not taking care of yourself. And just like we say this all the time, you can't be a parent and take care of your kids if you're not taking care of yourself. You're no good in your partnerships if you're not taking care of yourself. But when you run the business, like just this morning, I just had a short introductory call with somebody I'm going to have on the podcast and eventually, and she was telling me that she has just she's doubled her staff in the last few months. And what a huge learning curve it was, because it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much more now to handle, right? And I'm thinking, and you tell me, Emma, if you think I'm wrong about this, but I'm thinking as our practice grows, as our business grows, and as we evolve in terms of our skill set, I think there are I'm thinking of it like stair steps, like you sort of limp along at a certain level, and then you go through a big growth, like you figure something out, or you get a new opportunity, or all of a sudden your marketing begins to land and you have sort of this big growth spurt, and you're there for a while and you're fine. And then you either get a little restless or whatever, something happens and you go through another growth spurt. And over the course of time, I think if you're not careful as a business owner, not as a healer, not as the clinician, not as the practitioner, if you are not careful, you will lose yourself in your business. Yeah?
Oh, yes, definitely. And I mean, I have been in that position when, it began, and I was so obsessed with it, and to the point of neglecting, I guess, my family a little bit. And so the choices that I had made to change my life and be so intentional were then detracting from that. But it's then coming around and just having that self-awareness. And I think that having that time, as I said, each day where you try and bring your nervous system down, however that might be, whether that's a walk in nature or journaling or meditation or whatever it might be, gives you that opportunity to just stop and reflect and have that little bit of awareness around what might be out of alignment in your life and who you might be neglecting.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, one thing I hear you saying is that, I didn't tell you I was going to interrupt you constantly. I'm sorry, I forgot.
It's good. I love it.
I have to do that because I want to make sure that I'm tracking what we're talking about, and I want to make sure people listening track what we're talking about, because it's so easy to sort of half be listening, and I really want them to get this stuff. So I'm like, tune in, everybody. Yeah. One thing I hear you saying is, if you're not consciously paying attention, you can get in trouble. And there are little ways that your body, and sometimes other parts of your practice as well, but your body will send you signals. So learn to listen to that. And for you, you're talking about lower back pain when you're sitting too much at your desk, right? Yeah. I think if your hands hurt because you're scrolling, if the back of your neck hurts, but also I would say, if you can't sleep at night, if you can't turn it off when you go to bed at night, if you come home from, let's say you're seeing people at a physical office and you come home and immediately have to launch into childcare or getting dinner on the table or whatever, and you are edgy and irritable and you feel like, I have been taking care of people all day. Can you people just get something right for once, right? If you find yourself feeling a little bit like that. If you find yourself, it's a little too easy to have an extra glass of wine at night. Although for me, it was dipping into the chocolate jar at the office. That was my thing. But whatever your thing is, like, and like you say, if you're getting colds a lot, if you, like, these may be a sign that there's a signal, a clue that there's something here you need to pay attention to. I would also add to it that if you are struggling in your clinical work, if you find yourself being more reactive to a client, if you find yourself missing things with a client, if you find yourself having, and whatever kind of work you do, like whatever the work is, I always talk about psychotherapy, but you could be a physical therapist, whatever. But if you find that you are more impatient with people, anything like those are also clues that there's something here in you that you need to address, right? Yeah.
Oh, and I think lack of presence as well. That can be sometimes where if you are really tired, then you might zone out even a little bit because you just you can't maintain that focus. And they're all signs, I think, that you're not filling your cup up enough.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about how to fill your cup up enough.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Well, I think it is. I mean, it's so unique to every person what fills up your cup, but it's about really exploring what that is for you. I have a free resource available, and it's like a menu, and it has different options, and you pick one per day for 7 days, and then you just see how you feel. So it can give you
That's cool.
ideas. Yeah. So, but it is so unique, and I love meditation and journaling, and I have quite a strong morning routine that I really love to talk with my clients about, but it's not for everyone. But what I do enjoy about having not done this for 45 years of my life, and now the last 5 of having brought in this practice, and what I do is I just set my alarm for 15 minutes before I need to be up. So whatever time that might be, and whatever time it could be for you, whether it's 5 a.m. to get up for the gym, then maybe set your alarm for 4:45. If it's 8:30, then, you set your alarm just for that 15 minutes. And then I do a meditation, guided meditation generally. I use the Insight Timer app. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but I love it. It has so many different forms of meditation that you can do really to find something that works for you. And you can set how much time it is. So it could be 5 minutes. If you have a little bit more time, you can do longer. And so I do that, and then I write 1 page in an A5 journal, and it's just a brain dump, what maybe has come up for me in my meditation, or how I'm feeling, if I'm resentful or something amazing has happened, and and it just really helps to get some clarity about all those thoughts that are swirling around that don't have any purchase and take mental load and all of that. And then I finish by writing 3 things I'm grateful for. And so no matter how down I might be, the kids have done this, and I can't believe I'm so tired, I slept badly. You can always find something to be grateful for, whether it's clean sheets on your bed, or the warm shower, or, the sunshine, or, someone said something nice to you, or whatever it might be. And so then it just flicks the switch just that little bit. But what I love is it's 15 minutes, and I've sort of set my intention for the day on a positive note. I haven't picked up my phone and been scrolling social media and got straight into comparisons and, analysis or anything like that. So it really helps me to step out of bed and on the right foot.
And you do this every morning, so before you even get out of bed, before you go get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee.
Yeah. For me, I am lying in bed. So even that, I'm like, I still have 15 minutes to languish here. But for other people, it might not be. And for some people, they don't want to meditate. They're not into journaling. It could be getting out of bed and making themselves a cup of tea or coffee, and just taking that time to sit quietly and enjoy it, mindfully consume it, rather than looking at your phone. What have I got today? Emails, this and that. Going back to Covey's Matrix, where we're straight into not the important but not urgent category, because this isn't that. It's not urgent, but it is important, I think, to really honor ourselves and just check in.
But what you're doing there, again, intentionality is the theme today. So what I'm getting in that is that, and you can structure this. I hear you saying you can structure this lots of different ways. Okay.
Yeah. It could be stretching, a little bit of yoga. It could be going for a little walk. Whatever it might be for you.
But it's a ritual. It's a daily ritual that you choose to implement at the beginning of your day where you consciously and deliberately set the tone for the day, set your intention for the day. Basically get your energy straight before you dive into the day. Yeah?
Yeah, yeah. And it has changed my life, like just incredibly. I mean, I felt like I was highly strung. You know, the kids in my book I write, I've got a character called Jules, but it was really this thing did happen to me where one of the kids knocked over a glass of juice and I hit the roof, you know, like you've made me late. I'm going to have the
Yeah.
worst day. I was feeling dreadful about myself. I was going off to work and berating myself. Why was I like that? Straight into my self-worth and all of that. And then I noticed after doing this for about a year that a similar thing happened, and it happens now all the time. You know, I drop, you know, the washing powder or something, and you know, the other day someone didn't put a lid on something, and I shook it and it flung everywhere. And instead of going crazy, I sort of almost laugh now, you know, like, oh, here we go. And it doesn't change anything. I feel like it's really supported my reaction to things, that it's given me that little bit of space before I react, and often was reacting regretfully. And now, I mean, and of course I still do because we're only human and someone will cut me off in the traffic and, but it's a quicker turnaround as well. I feel like really has given me a lot of space just to be more calm in my life.
Because you're more intentional about how you handle things. I'm sure you have heard of the concept of morning pages, right?
Yes, I have. Yes,
right.
Yeah. Elizabeth Gilbert.
Your one page, maybe think about that. So morning pages is an idea promoted by Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way. If y'all aren't familiar with that, it's kind of like Stephen Covey, another classic. But the gist of, and where this is relevant with what you're saying, is that when she talked about morning pages, she basically was talking about a writing ritual that was kind of a brain dump to clear your head for the day. But she specifically said, don't do this at night. Do this in the morning. Because the whole point is to clear the decks before you go into your day, which is what I'm hearing from you. Like, for you, it's a little bit of Insight Timer, y'all. Insight Timer is a very, very, very good app. There's lots of them out there. Calm is another one y'all are used to. Headspace is another one. But Insight Timer has a gazillion options for free, plus things that you can pay for. And you can, no matter what you're into, you will find something that fits for you. So I also use Insight Timer. Yeah. So for you, you have a little 5-minute guided meditation that you'll listen to. You do 1 page of writing. You end with a gratitude list before you go into your day. I get up in the morning and the first thing I do is go do 15 minutes worth of yoga, a little stretching series that I do. And then I do a really light little exercise routine. And then I get a cup of coffee and I go sit with that cup of coffee. And I do not let myself pick anything up or look up anything until I finish that first cup of coffee. I want to love on my dog and watch the sun come up and just breathe, because it's so easy to dive into the day.
Yeah. And I do want to just preface that I know that people may be listening that have young children and that type of thing. And so it doesn't have to be in the morning. It could be at the end of the day, in the middle of the day, wherever. If you're listening and thinking there's no way that that's going to happen because my baby is waking me up before anything. And I remember my babies were waking me up. So this wasn't possible, but I wish that I had the practice when I did have my babies, because I feel like I would have been, a better, more present, calm.
At the absolute worst for me, when I was running this group practice and I had like 12 providers and I was also running for office and I was also raising 2 little kids, and I was like, I would get up at 4:00 in the morning because it was the only time I could think when my house was quiet. Now I went to bed early. I went to bed not long after the kids did, right? Because I had to. But you're right. Find the time. I like the morning because I think it does sort of set the tone for the day. And I think that's what being intentional is about. But I also appreciate what you're saying. Like, if that doesn't work for you, figure something else out. Okay. So give us some other ideas for how people can ground themselves and sort of stay sane when everything around them is insane.
Well, I think getting into nature is just one of the best things you can do. I think you're in New York, aren't you, Wendy, right now?
No. I'm nowhere near New York.
Oh, okay.
No, that's about
Okay,
a 10-hour drive north of me. No, I am
okay.
in the southeast United States, but I am
Um,
in a very pretty rural part near the oldest mountains in the world, the Appalachian Mountains. Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, but is it quite cold where you are right now?
This time of year, yes.
Yeah. So getting into nature is probably not as easy for you. I mean, we're lucky in Australia that the weather is mild. So even in winter, we can wander around sometimes in t-shirts.
Oh, yeah, we don't do that here.
But I really feel like getting into nature and hopefully even, that you can see a beautiful view or whatever it might be of those beautiful mountains. But I think being around nature can really support and ground us. Then exercise, I think, is another great way to ground yourself, whatever that might be, whether that's doing weights or yoga or walking on a treadmill or whatever it might be. I just think that can really help to show yourself that you're pouring in as well and you're honoring and showing yourself some self-worth by giving yourself time to move your body.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
eating mindfully as well, it's something I think we would probably, as practice owners, not do because you're just grabbing a sandwich as quickly as we possibly can. But, how long does it take you to eat a sandwich, really? 5 minutes? If you could just take that 5 minutes and not look at your phone, not be eating it on the run, and just take that time just to think about what you're eating and how it's going in your
One of my pet
digestion better.
peeves. One of my pet peeves. People who see back-to-back clients and take 10 minutes in between people to eat their lunch. And their lunch is grabbing some nuts and grabbing some almonds and having a scoop of yogurt. But yeah,
Yeah.
eat.
So, yes. And yes. And eat mindfully, you
I would
possibly
say
can.
take a lunch hour.
Yeah. 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 So
Please take a lunch hour. Yeah, okay.
yeah. And then I think, as practice owners and especially in the healing modalities, we're giving so much. So if you can then receive as well, I do sound healing and I love just that offering for people to come in and just to take that opportunity just to be. We often are hopping into bed and just praying that sleep comes as quickly as possible. As we said before, we've got all these tabs open and we're thinking it so much. So we don't ever give ourselves really permission just to stop and lie down and, whether it's breath work or, sound healing or,
Yeah.
yeah, there's Reiki or whatever it might be. I just think really important to, pour into ourselves and to receive when we are giving so much and serving that we, yeah, take time for ourselves as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you for that. Do you go to a class for that or do you just do it at home? How do you
So
do that?
I offer classes. So so I've got a couple coming up where it's just 45 minutes and they come along and I do a little bit of meditation to drop them in and just to, body scan so that they can be aware of anywhere they're holding tension. And then I have the crystal bowls that are the notes of the chakras and a few other instruments and yeah, I really love doing that. It's a beautiful side because I think self-care is really important. And I think that is such a nourishing form of self-care. So I really do love gifting
That's
that.
super cool. So you're doing
Yeah.
coaching and sound bathing. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
How do you do that for yourself? What do you do that's on the receiving end so that you keep yourself stocked, keep your own cup?
Yeah, so I will go to other people that would do sound healing. I do like breath work as well. I've recently discovered that and I just cannot believe how you can get high on your own supply and really access these incredible depths and get this clarity and just this knowing when we are doing some of those things. So I think that's really important to and it's also supporting, fellow practitioners that I know as well. But yeah, it's really lovely to go and receive, to do the breath work, to do the sound healing, to go to, women's wellness retreats and things like that. And then also having great friendships in my life is also so important for me. And I'm so grateful to have many wonderful women and then couple friends and things like that. And they all fill different cups for me. Some are more like we'll go for a long walk, and then there's others that we'll go out and have a few cocktails and just laugh all night and go on a girls' trip and things like that. And I think that is incredibly important to feel like we can be grounded and not always be working.
Y'all, she just gave you 5 really good ways to make sure that you stay grounded and healthy and present for the long haul as a business owner. 5 of them. And each one of these has lots of nuance and lots of depth to it. I want to go back over them because you were just throwing these out like, oh, do this, do that, do that. Oh, hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's look at this. Okay. Because this is what being intentional and mindful and present is about, right? It's paying attention. So the first one you said was nature. So I want to speak to that for a second. If you live in an urban area, if you live in a large city, or you live in an apartment, or you're in a place where you're surrounded by concrete and steel and glass and cars, maybe you don't think nature is important. Maybe there's a city park you can go to. But I know that research has shown that exposure to nature in almost any way naturally lowers our blood pressure, soothes our adrenal system, right? There's a reason why when you walk through a hospital, they are full of prints and photographs of nature, often trees and fields and mountains and all that kind of stuff. I read a book a few years ago that was about end of life, sort of preparation for end of life, and the guy that wrote it had done a bunch of research around hospice work and facilities that are meant to support elders as they are approaching that phase of life, and the facilities that had made it a point to have even fake plants or pictures of plants, like had a measurable impact on the residents or patients' physical and mental health. I remember that because I remember thinking, oh, that's good. I'm sort of not surprised, but it's good to hear that that's been documented. So whether you just have pictures in your office of nature or plants, or you go outside and walk around the building on your lunch hour, I tell people all the time, go outside. Like, I think you need to breathe real air. Not processed air through I think no matter what the weather is, however hot it is or however cold it is, or if it's pouring down rain, I don't care. Go outside for a minute. Go outside for a minute. 3 minutes. Breathe. Listen. Notice what you can smell, see, hear, taste. Like, just go outside for a moment and tune into your senses. I do think that is an extremely important thing to do. At my old office, I bought basically a sort of a picnic table of sorts to put on the back porch of the office because I wanted people to go outside and eat their lunch. Did they do that? No, I did. One of them did. Most of them did not. But I preached this for a long time. Anyway, so nature was one of them. And I want people to don't blow that off. We're not talking about being a tree hugger and going out for a hike. Like, there's lots of ways to get yourself connected to the outdoors, and it will be good for your body. Number 2, you talked about exercise. You mentioned having a standing desk. Do you want to give some people some tips for how they can incorporate exercise into a 10-hour day or into a day with 8 back-to-back 1-hour clients? Do you have any thoughts about that, like little things?
Yeah, well, I think, yoga sort of poses and that type of thing could be really helpful for that, where you could just, do whatever it could be that, even a wall sit or something like that, and I've had, as I said, lower back. And so I've got stretches now that I know that I can do for my back. And so it could just be trying to do a few of those things. A little bit of stretching. If you can, just go for a little walk outside. You're getting that little bit of nature and walking around the block. And as I said, checking with your senses and doing that type of thing. There's definitely ways you can get those sort of little bits of exercise in. And it all helps. I mean, the standing up, setting a little alarm on your phone or if you have, those watches these days that tell you need to stand up, and it's not even just standing up in one place. It's actually, going for moving your body a little bit. So
go check the mail. Go somewhere. Go down a flight of stairs. Go out to your car to get something. Like, just make yourself move. Okay.
But then you can even habit stack onto that 15 minutes that I was talking about earlier. Where, once you start to get really intentional about your morning, and then it could be that you add on, 15 minutes of yoga stretching like, you do in your mornings, or going for a walk outside or whatever it might be. And I think that once you you layer it in. And I love, like, I do Pilates, I do yoga, I do strength training. I love walking with my friends as well. So then you're killing two birds with one stone, as they say, where you're getting some exercise, you're getting some connection, and you always feel better for that.
Yeah. I was thinking about the book Atomic Habits, where he talks about about stacking habits. When you get one going good, then add one to it, which is what you're talking about. Okay, the third one you mentioned was eating mindfully. And like, I'm serious, like this is sort of a thing with me, because I've seen so many therapists in particular that literally did just go straight through and did not take a break at all. They would take 10 minutes in between people, which is not healthy, y'all. Like, I personally believe you should build an hour into your day when you are not doing anything. But if that's asking too much, at least do 30 minutes and leave your office, leave your desk, go to the kitchen, go to another friend's office down the hall to talk to, right? Go whatever, but go sit in your car. I don't care. Go to the park, but take a break. And eating mindfully, bring something healthy with you to eat, or identify places around you where you can go get something healthy to eat, because you have to refuel for the work that you're doing. Nature, exercise, eating. I'm going to switch the order of the last two. You talked about friends, because you're right. We need to play. We need fun. We need something that isn't about taking care of other people for a while. That's super important. And I actually have consciously over the last few months begun to build into that more, because I'm a hardcore introvert. I can go a week without talking to anybody and be just fine. That's not always good.
Like bliss to me.
I'm like, oh, this is not healthy. I should talk to someone. But I am trying to make myself like set up dinner dates, set up coffee dates, like get out there and see people. But the last one that you said that I want to highlight of those five was receiving, healing yourself, receiving, building into your routine, whether it's counseling, psychotherapy, life coaching, going to the gym, going to a class, taking an art class, a pottery class, learning to play an instrument, the sound bathing like you're talking about, breath work like you're talking about, something that pours into you and really, 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 really like actively, consciously is about you. And I don't know about you, Emma, but I'm really good at focusing on everybody else, not just because I'm kind of wired that way, because I'd rather talk about you than me.
Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
I'd much rather do
That's
that.
why I think I'm a good life coach, because I've always been great at listening, and people, love opening up to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, as soon as they say, what about you? And I'm like, well, blah, 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 blah. That's it.
Right. You will be, I learned this a long time ago. You'll be a better therapist if you're in therapy. You'll be a better energy healer if you are getting energy healing. You'll be a better massage therapist if you're getting a massage. Like whatever it is, make sure you are practicing what you preach. So those are really good and very practical and very doable. Y'all, I want you to notice that at no point in here did we say take a hot bath and do your nails. Like that's not what we're talking about here. This is much richer than that, much deeper than that, and much more comprehensive than that.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is take a bath on my menu, and there's nothing wrong with that. But but it is about the deeper work, and often I've studied a little bit of kinesiology as well, and that was because I was having sessions, and then I got so interested that I wanted to learn how to do that, and just to make sure that you are looking after your own stuff as well.
Yeah. I think that what I want to emphasize here, and then we'll start to pull this together, is that what I'm always looking for here is I want you to last for the long haul. Like if you start a practice in your 30s and you're still doing it in your 60s, y'all, like you need to last, right? And I want you to enjoy it all along the way. I want you to, and I personally believe that for you to be successful means that you are going to be constantly challenging yourself. You're going to be you're going to have a growth edge that you bump into all the time. It never really gets easy. It is always interesting. And I just feel like this too is part of running an ideal practice, that you have to be taking care of the practice owner. You just have to. It's just critical. It's it really is practicing what you preach to your
Yeah,
clients anyway, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So I
definitely.
really appreciate this, Emma, and all the different ideas you've given us. It's really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy, because it is soft talk, right? And it is really where it's not urgent and it's something we can easily neglect. But I think it is so important that we do put our own oxygen mask on before we try and put everyone else's on.
It is a message that gets beaten to death, but there's a reason for that. One of
Mm,
the first coaching clients I ever had was a massage therapist who literally was physically ill because she just flat made herself sick.
mm.
Over serving, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
it
I'm sure you've
happens.
seen it a lot,
I have.
Wendy, in
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
work. That's probably why people come to you because they're like, it's not working. How
There's
can I
truth
make
in
it
that.
work?
Yeah. It's a little bit of both. It's like, this is fine, but I want more. How can I make this exciting? And how can I grow my business? And I want to try this and that. But it's also, I'm working myself to death and nothing's happening. What's wrong? And what can I do to fix this?
Mm.
Take care of the practice owner. That's what I want to say. Take care of the practice owner. Emma, this is awesome. Tell people, where can they learn more about you? And if they want to dive a little bit deeper or follow you, where do you want them to go?
Yeah, so I'm mostly active on Instagram, and my name is a little bit of a mouthful. It's Emma Lagerlow, and I often say it's lager like the beer, and low how you feel when you've had too much. So that hopefully
Lager
makes
like the
you,
beer.
yeah.
I heard you say like the bee. Lager like,
Ah,
I'm
yes,
like, what
my
kind of
accent.
bee is like?
No, there's yeah, yeah, lager like the beer.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. So and yeah, so you can have a look at me over there. I'd love, yeah, jump into my DMs if you're on Instagram. If you wanted to have a look at my book, if you loved hearing about the pillars, and that's called Worthy and Wealthy, and it's available on Amazon and other good book retailers. Yeah, and I have a website as well, and that is www.emmalagerlow.com. So yes, going back to that beer
Yeah,
analogy again.
love
Yeah,
that.
but maybe you'll leave them in the
Lagerlow.
show notes. But yeah, there's all my free resources. I have that self-care menu that I talked about, and then I
Yeah,
have a little bit
where would
about
they
some
find
money
that?
management as well. So yeah, there's a budget, which is really a basic budget, but I think it can really support you to get all your ducks in a row. And then yeah, there's coaching and all the different things. So yeah, I'd love you to have a browse.
Have a browse. We will definitely link to your website below
Well,
and your
thank you,
podcast.
Wendy.
Your podcast, which is it's a mindset, is the name of her
Yes,
podcast.
yes, thank
Yeah,
you, thank you. Yes,
yeah,
and
and
Wendy, yeah,
I'm
it's going to
excited
be a
because
guest.
we're going to do a little bit of a swap. I'm going to be on her show too in a little while, so talking
Mm,
about something completely different from this. But
mm.
that'll be fun.
I
Emma,
know, but I'm sure sorry.
oh, I was going to say, how did they get the thing that you talked about, the checklist that you were talking about? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so that's on my website, and I'm not sure like the menu. I think it's a self-care challenge. So it's my
Okay,
website, the backslash self-care challenge.
okay,
But if you go to my website, then just click on free resources, and yeah, you can
you'll
have a
find
look
it.
and see. There's a gratitude journal there as well. If you've enjoyed hearing about our talking about our morning routine and you want to get started practicing gratitude, that could really, yeah, maybe support you. But thank you so much, Wendy, for having me on. It's been really, am just so grateful for having explored and discovered this pathway for myself, and then the people that has come into my life as a result, and that would never have been possible. I mean, we're so lucky with the modern world with technology that I can be in Australia and you're in the United States, and
Yeah.
yeah, we can connect, and I'm sure you're going to be teaching me a lot about how I can be even more intentional with running my own practice. So
Yeah, that's
appreciate
true.
everything you're doing.
I do. I will say that one of the best things about the podcast is just getting to meet people like literally all over the world. Just the coolest people. I really
Mm,
do love that. And I never, ever, ever get tired of it. I was
mm,
talking to someone earlier today about this conversation this evening. So for me, it's in the evening. I'm
mm,
recording this, y'all, on a Thursday evening. And for Emma, it's her Friday morning.
it's
And
crazy.
I was telling somebody, I said, the fact that I can have a live phone call with someone where I can see her face and hear her voice in live time, who is literally on the other side of the planet, I never, ever get tired of that. I really, really
Mm,
never do.
mm,
But not just that, you've also given us some really good stuff that we can use. And I'm grateful for that.
yeah.
And I hope people will take your advice because they
Mm,
will they will be glad that they did.
Yeah,
Would
I think
you?
so.
Yeah. So before we close, I always like to end an episode by asking folks if, because we've covered a lot of ground,
Mhm.
is there anything that I haven't asked you, anything I have forgotten to cover, or anything that you just feel called to share that you feel like would make this conversation complete?
I think we've covered a lot of territory, and I'm really, grateful for your interest in my life and my family and all of that as well. So thank you for that. But yeah, I think it's really just, it doesn't take a lot of time to really create a profound shift in your life. As I said, you start with 15 minutes, whether that's eating mindfully, whether that is setting your alarm for 15 minutes earlier. I'm sure everyone can find 15 minutes to do something for themselves and give themselves that little bit of space and reset their nervous system, so then they have so much more to give to their lives, their businesses, their work, and to themselves.
That's perfect. I just wrote down the 15-minute fix.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm feeling like a Mel Robbins, vibe going on. I'm like,
Yeah. Could turn that into a book, I guarantee. 15-minute fix, y'all. That's not much. You can do that. That's not too much. You can do that. That's good. Thank you, Emma. This has been a lot of fun. I look forward to coming on your show as well and talking about courage. That's going to be fun as well. Guys, I hope you all have enjoyed this. I hope we will have everything linked below. Be sure and go check out the free resources she's got, because it sounds like she's got some real jewels in there. I want you to make the most of this. And seriously, 15 minutes. Come on now. You can do that. 15 minutes. So here's my last minute challenge to you guys. What could you do tomorrow? I'd like to say today, depending upon when you listen to this. But how could you take 15 minutes in the next 24 hours and implement one teeny tiny thing that Emma has suggested today that's going to make things better, that's going to feel better for you? 15 minutes. Okay. I'm looking at you. You know I'm looking at you. Y'all can feel that. I'm looking at you. All right, everybody. Have a great week. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on the Ideal Practice Podcast. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.